Welcome to the Wild Holy Podcast. I am Stephanie, and today I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Faith, and it's her birthday today, so happy
Yay.
birthday, Faith.
Thank you.
And we have more than one reason to celebrate because as we are gathered here, we're actually wrapping up our very first season as the Wild Holy Podcast. And this season has been filled with so many heartfelt conversations and real conversations about the ways that people encounter the wild holy in their own lives.
Yeah, we've heard many incredible stories over the season from our guests, and today we get to reflect a little bit on some of those themes and also what's been emerging for us individually.
Absolutely. So, for all of our listeners, settle in with a cup of tea or coffee or something else, a smoothie, whatever makes you comfortable, as we dive into this season's journey and celebrate the many ways that the wild holy has shown up for us. So, welcome.
Yeah, welcome. And it's so funny that you just mentioned smoothie because my son Jacob, it just was like, I was reminding him he had to be quiet while we were recording. And he's like, Mom, do I have time to make a smoothie really quick? I was like, you got 5 minutes. Make it quick because it's loud when you make a
quick.
smoothie.
I think a lot of what Jacob does is probably loud. So
yeah,
it makes sense.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you might hear his voice in the background. But anyways, not to divert us immediately off the bat, but
well, the journey has many rivulets and detours along the way. So I think that's totally fine.
For sure. That's for sure.
Well, Faith, we've had a really rich season. I've just been reflecting with a lot of gratitude about the people who have said yes to being on a podcast. I think it was Rachel Maddow the other day who said, like, podcasts are the new blogs.
Everybody's got true. It's true.
Everybody's got a podcast, and we've got a podcast now. But I've been really grateful at the folks who have said yes, and it's not just talking about areas of expertise or something that's a little bit less personal. I mean, these stories have been profoundly personal.
Yeah.
Have included moments of darkness and light. So I'm just really always amazed at the people who say yes and then the stories that they share, which are so meaningful and vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to get up and share and be that vulnerable to the world. But it's kind of interesting because we have a culture now that facilitates that openness and vulnerability, and that like everything, it has its gift and shadow side to things. But no, I've really appreciated it. I truly believe that the holy is most visible in those individual particular instances. And so what better way to catch a glimpse of the holy than to talk with people and what they've experienced in their own lives. It's like that. So it's a next best thing to the firsthand encounter of the thing, right? Is hearing somebody else's experience of it.
Yeah, there's an aspect of witness and testimony to all of these stories, and no one's preaching, no one's making a case. They're just sharing their own experiences.
Right. And what I love that you've helped me, not on purpose, Stephanie, but like you've helped me. Like I have this tendency to really want to create a structure around things and to have a box. Just because that makes me feel more comfortable and more assured that, I'm not going to go off the rails and seem completely irrelevant or whatever. It's an ego thing. But I love how you gently guide back to just letting what is there naturally flow and emerge. And that's what I love about people's personal stories. That's what I love about this venue for it. So, yeah, I'm just thinking back about each and every person now. We had Sue was our first guest and her near-death experience that she told us about her encounter with the love force. How amazing is that? And then Becky was our next one. Sorry, I'm just going to go through and remind myself. I'm
Please.
thinking, and Becky was our next one, and she has had so many experiences with grief, and that completely helped her, well, just cracked open her worldview and began a process of deconstruction for her. So, um,
Mhm.
knowing Becky personally, it's been an honor to watch that unfold for her. Um, yeah, as God shows God's self to her in new, amazing ways, and just hearing about it from her, it's really neat. It's been a gift. And then our third one, help me remember. Can you remember our third one was?
I think that was Jess.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she was great with all of her. I mean, she's such a joyful person, isn't she?
Yes.
Yes.
She is.
Uh,
And I have to say that I've been hearing from podcast listeners who, I mean, know me or whatever, um, how meaningful, like, once people are starting to see numbers, like repeating numbers,
yeah, once
and
you're
they're
open to it, it comes through, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
people keep telling me about, "Oh my gosh, I'm seeing like 444 or 1111," and I'm like, "That's amazing. That's amazing."
Yeah.
So to me that says that there is divine communication using whatever
Mhm.
pathways exist.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I so wonder about that. How the means by which the divine communicates with us, and how that happens. Just
Mhm.
watching it and then trying to figure out, like, what's the medium, the way that that happens. And it does seem to me that it's like, um we have some sort of thing that we're paying attention to, and the divine goes, oh, so that's a way I can, that's a language, language in some sort of form, whether it's numerology or the scripture, or for
Mhm.
me it's wildflowers or whatever. It's like, oh, that's a language I can use to get through to you. And then the meaning is transferred to those things, and we receive that meaning. So
Mhm.
um when we don't limit that to a particular thing, it's amazing where the divine shows up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I think I said when I first met Jess, I said if God was trying to get in contact with me using numbers, like, we'd be screwed. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just not very I didn't think I was very attuned to numbers in general. I'm more of a word person, but once I started to notice, I'm like, "Oh my gosh," and it was this, like, the energy
Yeah.
of it was very, like, friendly and loving and warm,
Huh.
and I never in a million years thought that I would be noticing all of these repeating numbers. So that's
Mhm.
been a shift for me, as I've been opening to various forms of, shall we I mean, divine communication.
Yeah.
That's been really true for me. And then, it was fun to talk with Paul
Yeah.
and to hear about his journey, through ministry and sobriety, and he was very modest about the work that he's doing, characteristically modest
Yeah.
about the work he's doing, but I can't tell you how many people, I know who have been introduced to centering prayer through Paul, who have been
Hmm.
invited to a 12-step group by Paul. I mean, that's just his non-official work life. I'm sure the women that he's working with in the women's prison in Iowa have been profoundly impacted by his
Mhm.
presence, and I also, it's meaningful to me that, you know, that, like, safe male presence.
Yeah, it's just exactly what I was thinking, Stephanie.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
is
That
probably
that is much
impactful. Yeah.
needed,
Yeah.
right? I can't tell you how many times, like, my gay male friends, their presence just really speaks to me, because it comes across in a very, I don't know, I guess it's just a very open way of a more gentle way of being masculine. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's just, and
Mhm.
and and for me, that's a healing presence. And so
Mhm.
I imagine, with Paul, and just in general, men who have a gentler presence,
Mhm.
it's just like, it's a healing thing, particularly for women who may have been traumatized or abused in the past,
Mhm. And that's
by the
most of
male
the women at the
presence.
women's prison, so yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's really meaningful. And then, to talk with my cousin, that was really meaningful for me,
mhm,
and I think I said this during the conversation, if everyone got a chance to talk to their relatives this way, to interview them, because I learned things I didn't know, and a lot of things I didn't know, and I saw my own perspective of my family shift. I mean, this is like off microphone. This is
yeah,
the as I kind of processed the conversation, but afterwards, but I saw my own relationship to the church that we had both grown up in. I saw it through her eyes,
mm,
and that was really meaningful to me. And then the incredible bravery and her courage to be who she is in the midst of these profound challenges. And cancer isn't in her rear view mirror. I mean, it is and it isn't, right? For so
right,
many cancer survivors, the the ongoing health challenges, the possibility that cancer could reemerge,
mm,
it's not a chapter that you just close. And I
right,
think that's true for a lot of people who have had illnesses, but also just a lot of like your experiences are still with you in some ways,
right.
informing you or so that's something that I've been thinking about. Those are things I've been thinking about since that conversation with her.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Shannon, to me, the thing that stood out the highest and the most was just um, her ability just to be in herself and be herself, truly
Yes.
herself. So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, I loved it.
Yes. Yeah, she is like I said, I she is someone that always seems like she's about to burst into like a dance move. I've seen
Yeah,
her do that so many times. And there's just such a joy and a freedom of expression in that. And I want to be more like her when I grow up. That's the
yeah,
truth. Yeah. So, and then to end with Amanda, and Amanda has a very unique story of her own. And I also would say, like, I don't know if it's in us, Faith. It probably is both, but I think one thing I really wanted for this podcast was for humor to come through.
mhm.
The people that we know are funny or like to laugh. We like to laugh.
I do
You
like to
know,
laugh, but I don't ever think of myself as being funny. So,
oh, really?
like,
I
like, well,
suggest you revise that opinion of
I
yourself.
hope that comes through if that's what you're going for, Stephanie.
It is what I mean. It's one of the things I'm going for. No, I think I am always suspicious of religious people who don't have a sense of humor.
Yeah,
And I've known some, and it's just like when it gets to be so serious, it's like, are you really in contact with the living God or the like divine spirit? you
yeah,
know, if you're really serious, I think often, if I'm serious, I'm taking something too seriously often.
mhm,
Um, so there's something about the wild holy is like the wild holy's um, sense of humor. I've experienced the mischievousness of God.
yeah, interesting.
So that's something. It's not like wild as in dramatic, but
Mhm,
it's twinkly and winky, I guess.
yeah. Huh. So what was it about Amanda? Do you find her personality to be full of humor? Was it something specifically with the interview?
I don't think it was specific. I mean, her T-shirt was amazing, and I loved
Yeah.
it. Um,
The Dairy Queen logo that said Butch Queen instead of
yeah,
Dairy Queen, yes.
yeah. I mean, I loved the nod. I loved the queering of the Dairy Queen. That was very charming.
The queering of the Dairy Queen, yes.
I mean, I have so many fond childhood memories of Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
It's really a thing. It's really a thing. Yeah, I mean, also knowing Amanda, I think actually, you know what, to have any kind of durable and lasting connection with the holy. I think that you almost have to, if you don't have one already, you have to develop a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because again, the holy is not inside of our control. And life isn't inside of our control either.
Mhm.
So I think the humor can be a form of patience.
Mm. Yeah. A form of patience. Interesting. And I think it would be fun to have a comedian on the show or as well and just speak with them about the role of comedy and speaking truth to things.
Mhm.
I don't know.
We know some funny people.
Mhm.
We know a lot of funny people. I think that, I mean, let's put it out there into the universe, Faith,
Yes.
that we're looking for someone who can reflect on that. I mean, I think the comedians that I like, professionally or not professionally, I think there's a lot of irony and absurdity in life, and humor is often a way to help us cope with irony and absurdity. And again, because the wild holy is not inside of our control, and yet also, again, I've had experiences where the holy's been very mischievous and twinkly, or if
Mhm.
that's the way I've experienced the holy. And it makes me laugh because I think, oh, yeah, this is, again, why so serious? Why so serious about all of this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that does make a good connection for me. It's this the ability to laugh at something helps you release the grip a bit on whatever it
Mhm.
is that you're dealing with. And that in itself, that less uh, finding, I guess, less rigidity, allows movement to come back in, which is the spaces where the holy can kind of come through again. It's like the analogy that sticks in my mind all the time of me walking into divinity school for the first time and walking on this sidewalk to YDS and seeing where the roots of these trees have become enormous over the years, over the time of the institution's been there, and the roots are just pushing up the sidewalk, and it's
Mm.
broken the sidewalk and the concrete to pieces in some spots. In some spots, it's still barely walkable. But to me, I feel like that's a real apt analogy for the wild, uncontainable presence of the holy. And when
Mm.
we try to form these um, walkways or paths over and through the holy
Mhm.
experience of life to make it easier for us. Of course we do. It's a natural
Mhm.
thing to do. But
Mhm.
over time it's gonna break through.
Mhm.
We've got to give it a little bit of room to grow sometimes. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I love that, and I love that. I mean, that is such commentary about the ways in which, I mean, that can go pretty meta, right, Faith? Because I think we're living in a time where a lot of foundations are cracking, of the
Absolutely.
institutions, right? And so,
Yeah.
it's kind of fascinating to watch it emerge. I mean, fascinating, sometimes horrifying to watch it emerge.
Mhm.
Um, but actually, I mean, thank you for doing this, but I did want to mention a book
Yeah.
that I'm reading or have read. It's an older book by Mark Epstein, who's a Buddhist teacher, writer, and psychotherapist. I don't know if he's still practicing, but that was his profession. And it's his book about desire. And I heard an interview with him on the Ezra Klein show recently, maybe in the last month. And so I'd heard about him before, but I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna read one of his books." And I am interested in Buddhism. I think it has a lot of r resonance with contemplative Christianity. It's not the same,
Mhm.
but it's on
Yeah.
similar wavelengths. And in this book, basically, he draws on both Hindu philosophy, religion, and Buddhism. to
Okay.
talk about, yeah, so he goes into some Hinduism too, which is interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, it's one of my life dreams to go to India. So,
Really?
I've always wanted to travel to India, maybe go to an ashram. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but, I've always wanted to go there. I'm just very drawn to the culture, the religion, the food. I mean, everything about it is intriguing to me. So, in this book, he talks about basically, he tries to rehabilitate the idea of desire within Buddhism. So, when Buddhism came to the West, and it hasn't been that long, it's only been since the 60s and 70s that Buddhism has
Right.
really been in the West at all
Right.
in any significant way. So, when Buddhism came to the West, maybe because of Christianity, the idea of renouncing desire
Mm,
is a huge part of Buddhism. And his argument is that that's renouncing desire isn't the point. There's nothing wrong with desire. It's renouncing in Buddhism. It's renouncing the clinging aspect of desire.
mhm.
So it's a bit of a subtlety. So I mean, when he was first learning Buddhism, he was surrounded by people who were, it's about renouncing all desire for anything, like not just for sex or romance, but for like food and anything that we would desire. The idea was to renounce it, practice renunciation. And that's really, again, not what the teaching is really trying to get at. The teaching is trying to get at the clinging, the clinging to anything. And
Yeah.
his basic idea is that we can never possess the object of our desire. So on the one hand, we desire connection or whatever it might be, or the satisfaction of food or something like that,
Mhm.
but we can never possess it.
Hmm.
And he's kind of arguing for the sacredness of the other, meaning that
Hmm.
we can never get inside someone else's heart and soul, no matter how
Mhm.
well we think we know them. We can't
Mhm.
even really get inside of our own heart and soul. We ourselves are
Yeah.
mysteries to ourselves. I think it's a little bit, I thou, what he's getting at there. But
Right. Martin Buber
Martin
kind of.
Buber,
Yeah.
exactly. He's getting to a Martin Buber place from a Buddhist perspective. But he's saying he's also making an argument that desire is an animating force in our lives. And so it's a desire for God that keeps us going, or the desire for the holy, or the desire for to connect with somebody else, or whatever our goals might be, that we need that desire. That desire is helpful and human.
Mhm.
But when we try to possess something, we can never possess it truly.
Yeah, that's I'm wondering, so this desire to trying to remove the desire from ability to possess something else. It it's almost like it's saying there needs to be this allowance for freedom in the other.
Mhm.
Speaking, and that maybe is one of the distinctions of the I thou relationship, is that allowing for freedom,
Mhm.
that you can't control another, but you can enter
Mhm.
into relationship
Mhm.
and be vulnerable to your desire to be
Mhm. Mhm.
experience another, um,
Mhm.
but you can't force it, because then
Mhm.
the interaction that kind of cancels out the what I would call it love emerges from that,
Mhm.
perhaps,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
maybe some other um, theories, philosophies might call it something else.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's an interesting way to look at it. Hmm.
What made me bring it up for this podcast was that, it's not just the holy, it's the wild holy, meaning
Yeah.
that it's the holy that we can never possess. At least I think in this embodied life, we can never possess. And, I was thinking about in centering prayer, how many times I've felt that I've melted into the formlessness of unitive consciousness, which is a highfalutin phrase, but I mean, like, where you just sort of like, you can't you've gone so far, so deep in that you've lost a sense of your I-ness, your own selfhood. And, but the paradox of that is that as soon as you realize you're in that, you are out of it. As soon
Mm,
as you're like, wow, I really touched something, or God, whatever it is, something
mm,
happened. As soon as you realize that, it's gone. You're
mhm.
somewhere else, right? You're then your own self is reflecting on the thing.
Right. Well, I
So
think that
it's elusive.
yeah, well, I think that also speaks to the fact that we can't fully know what we can't experience the holy unless we are in this particular ego-bound self. So,
Mhm.
that almost is there's a beauty to that,
Mhm.
and while it needs to be held with balance and this looseness of this letting go, the standing in the desire, which is, um, held by this ego consciousness is necessary in
Mhm.
order for us to have that experience of the holy, I think.
Mhm.
Well, to have a knowledge of the experience of the holy, because
Mhm.
you can be
Mhm.
experiencing it, but if you can't realize that you are, how can you I don't know. It
Yeah,
goes deep for
it does.
it can start to
We're
make
like
your mind
falling
hurt.
off. No, no, it's we're falling off the cliff of consciousness.
Uh,
Absolutely, Faith. Yes, there's a paradox here, and form and formlessness, self and unity, or oneness. Yeah, I think
mhm,
that's the kind. There's a dance there. I think
mhm,
there's a dance involved in all of this. And, one of our goals for the podcast, or one of our hopes, or at least as we thought about this, was maybe normalizing that people have all kinds of experiences of the wild holy
mhm.
that fall inside and seemingly outside of conventional religion, although there's some pretty wild stuff in the Bible.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing that we've heard hasn't been in some form or another, even featured there. But the
Mhm,
point is, what what people accept and expect from their experiences of the holy is often wilder than than they might think. And I
mhm,
think one of my goals with this was to keep expanding, keep going as far as the holy goes, and see if we can find something familiar there.
mhm.
Not everyone's going to have a near death experience. Thank goodness.
Right,
It's not
right.
about that. Not everyone's going to struggle with addiction or get cancer or, experience loss in particular ways. But everybody has something that's
Mhm,
been wild and out of their control that's happened to them. And often, for whatever reason, those are means of grace. Those are
mhm.
avenues and vehicles for the wild holy to make itself and its presence known.
Yeah, and I think that by pointing it out, and identifying it in these ways and forms that we might not typically recognize or honor in everyday life. In fact, like these, like we were talking about numerology and the recognizing of numbers and perhaps assigning meanings to those numbers and
Mhm.
how the divine can speak to individuals who are noticing those things. That you know, that's a way for the divine to come in and speak with us if we only choose to notice it.
Absolutely, Faith. And let us transition into saying, I think there is, as you praised my openness, um, I think there is I think there also is always a need. This is the paradox for pattern recognition,
Mm, mhm.
and for like, oh, well, this is, or structure even. It's the dance between those things that
Yeah.
it's really the dance between those things. And I think that's where I used to say, or and used to, it really used to be true for me that there is, there is a shape that things take. And there's a shape that God takes. And I think there's a deep, at the same time that there's kind of a cosmic quality to the divine. I mean, obviously there is. And the more that we explore the cosmic, the more it's just incredible. And there's also a deep personal quality to the divine. And
Mm-hmm.
I think learning to recognize the patterns that are
Yeah.
there, you know,
Right.
and there's a sentience to the divine. There's not just a general blandness about it. There's a deep intelligence and a sentience to it.
Yeah. And
So,
I think that that's kind of the underlying structure that holds our approach to this podcast
mhm,
is a faith and a holding to what we believe that the holy is,
mhm,
how the holy shows up, and that is that the holy is good,
mhm,
that it works for good.
mhm,
Um, there's no reason to fear.
mhm,
um, there's an allowance for freedom.
mhm.
Um, it's loving.
Yeah,
So those are the patterns that I
yeah,
have deeply experienced and felt
yeah.
and been shown, especially in relation to the lack of fear, because a lot of my original upbringing and religion, God was wrapped up with a lot of fear around the concept of God. And so part of my deconstruction has been to release God from all that fear that I had, and just truly realizing and coming to an absolute knowing inside my heart that there's just love there, period, the end, and that love is freedom, love is acceptance as I am in the moment, all of those things. So that's a pattern that I've seen. What kind of patterns of the holy have you experienced?
Mm. Hmm. I think somewhat similarly. I don't know that it's so much about fear as it is about just letting the holy continue to eclipse whatever tidy conclusions I've come to
Huh.
about its presence. And so that's one aspect, kind of letting the holy out of the box, continuing to do that.
Uh-huh.
And I also think, and I would say maybe this is the contemplative dimension, but just letting the holy be in me
Huh.
and rest in me. And the more that I attune to that sense of rest in me, the calmer I am, the more I feel like a vessel of whatever light or love God wants to express through me.
Uh-huh.
It's more about being than it is about doing. And I think it always maybe is also about loosening the grip of control,
Uh-huh.
thinking that things should turn out a certain way or be a certain way. If only this, if only that. Just letting go of those ideas has been really important for my journey, or has felt important now. And I think also the sense of fun and play, honestly.
Uh-huh.
The sense of fun and play and brightness, and just like, again, not taking things so seriously, having
Uh-huh.
fun with it, you know, experiencing that aspect of God. Because there's a lot right now that feels very serious and very weighty.
Yeah.
And I can get a little overwhelmed by that. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I can get kind of overwhelmed by that.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I work with people and I work in an institution, and there are all kinds of serious things and weighty things that come across my desk, or my awareness, and just kind of learning to embody also kind of a sacred optimism
Huh.
that I feel.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I genuinely feel optimistic about the future, which is, again, not an overriding sort of energy at the moment. I don't know
Yeah.
how everything's going to happen or how it's all going to manifest, but I do genuinely feel that humanity is moving through an evolutionary process.
Hmm.
And I don't think that means everything in the short term is wonderful and wildflowers and roses. I don't think that.
Yeah.
But I do see people waking up. I see people on journeys of healing in many different directions and many different dimensions. And that gives me hope. And I see it in myself.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Well, let's keep
Yeah.
that wildflower energy going, Faith, because I know you wanted to mention a wildflower that means something to you.
Oh, yes. So I'm going to bring it into the screen, but right outside in my yard are growing right now at this time of the season are the whitewood asters, and they
Ooh.
carry with it a spiritual meaning of resilience and clarity. But I think, in addition to that, their presence at this particular time of the season, which is late summer, as we're, it's just like on the threshold of moving into the fall, the dropping of the leaves, transitioning of the seasons, and I thought that it was very appropriate for this episode that we're doing as we're having this transition from our first season of interviews with people about the wild holy, and as we transition into the next season with more conversations and more sacred stories with people. Um, yeah, so we're just gonna kind of thought that they, and the reason why I think both of us love wildflowers is just the natural beauty that
Hmm.
shows up, without being planned
Hmm.
or or nurtured even. It just shows up in
Hmm.
the wildness of wherever it might be. It could be a crack in the sidewalk. It could be whatever. So that's what I feel like the wildflower holds for us. They're kind of beautiful, but they're not perfect, right? You can see they're like, they've got imperfections and flaws, and it's not like this arrangement you would get at the store, but
Hmm.
it's wild and it's holy.
Hmm. I
So,
love that, Faith.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that it doesn't have to be perfect. It isn't perfect. And wildflowers often are medicinal. I mean,
Mhm.
not that they need to be, but they often are.
Right.
And they're just like gratuitously beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yep,
I
and
love that.
they breed fertility for the
Mm.
rest of nature. It's a way for all of our pollinators to come and do their work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Everything belongs. That's beautiful.
Mhm.
So, Faith, you hinted at our new season.
Yeah.
So we're
But,
taking oh,
well, hold
good.
on one second because I realized we missed one episode we didn't mention. We gotta
Do we
mention our friend Lauren.
Oh my gosh. We did mention Lauren. Oh my we did not
Yeah,
mention Lauren.
we
Oh,
skipped
Lauren,
over.
sorry about you.
Yes, so Lauren was our friend. She's a pastor and also a forest therapy guide, and she, just opened up that path to experiencing the forest as a healing
Mhm.
place. As we're speaking of wild things and wild flowers, you can experience that in the forest in general. So,
Definitely. Yeah,
yeah.
and I loved our little side conversation about Stonehenge too. That was really fun.
Yes. Oh, yeah, so much to
Yeah.
explore and think about when it comes to
Mhm.
Stonehenge and places of
Mhm.
encounter. Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah, how
yeah.
could we forget Lauren? Lauren, we
No,
love you.
we
We never
totally.
forget you.
Never, never.
Never, never.
Oh.
So next so we're taking a little bit of a break to just sort of, we'll let everyone go to school,
Mhm.
and then we'll start off with a new season. So, Faith, is there anything you're excited about for this next season?
I'm excited to keep, just opening up the door for new conversations to be had, new insights for me to glean from these people's experiences with the divine. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, and I just love this avenue of the podcast and getting familiar with how to hold space for people's um, thoughts and questions and ideas and experiences and asking the right questions at the right time and all of that is fascinating to me. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I love that, Faith. Well, I love that there absolutely will be more people to interview. I mean, interviews is kind of
Yeah.
not quite the right word, but converse with, like have a conversation
Mhm.
with. And me too. I think there's something about I mean, we have some exciting guests that we'd like to ask, exciting to us, who
Mhm.
really will take us in new directions.
Mhm.
And I, again, to end where at least I started with gratitude, it's been really lovely to hear from our listeners that they're enjoying the podcast. And I had one person, one person said to me, it's like spiritual ASMR. So I'm glad. So if you're listening to this as you're falling asleep, we
Uh,
wish you a good night's rest.
yes.
So, that's been lovely. I mean, we really love hearing from people, and if you're
Yeah.
someone who just wants to reach out just to say hi, that's great. We would love that.
Our contact information is on the bottom of each episode in the description of the episode. And yeah, and even to open up an invitation that if someone out there has had an experience of the divine that they're really interested in sharing, we'd love to have the opportunity to talk with you about it. So get in touch with us.
Absolutely. Please do. We love that. We really,
Yeah.
really would. So with gratitude to
Hmm.
you, our listeners, we say thank you and we wish you, as the aster is showing up in Faith's face yard, this is a time of year where there's lots of new things that are starting and the summer is, I mean, today's the first cool day that we've had in a while here in
Thank
Shoreline,
God.
Connecticut. I know. It's such a blessing. It feels like such a breath
Yeah.
of fresh air, literally. So,
Yeah.
with all that fresh air, we hope that there are wonderful new beginnings, 1111 in your
Mm.
life, and we thank you.
Yeah. And I'll just things up by saying one final sentence that may all of the listeners meet the holy in all the places that you least expect it. And may it find you exactly as you are. Till next time.
Until next time.